The police state and climate change are not only two sides of the same problem, but they're receiving the same treatment from the mainstream media and getting the same response from the vast majority of the world's public. With both issues, people are believing the lies of those who benefit and profit from them both, the elite. These oligarchs tell us profit and industrialization are more important than the environmental damage caused from these pursuits. And they tell us the police state is for our own good. It brings us security and convenience. The elite in both cases say, trust us, we know what's best for you. And people fall for this lie despite the fact the elite have done nothing but lie to us for over 6,000 years. And scientists and engineers fall on two sides of these problems. On one side, they truthfully warn us that climate change is the result of elitist-made industrial pollution, and that the police state is dangerous and being implemented all around us. But on the other side, they are responsible for designing, creating, and promoting the industrial technologies that cause climate change, and designing, creating, and promoting the police state technologies that are enslaving us and making us addicted and dependent on them. Whereas with climate change, a very large and vocal scientific community has warned us of these dangers. The scientists who oppose the police state are a much smaller, less vocal group. But the industrialists spend billions of your consumer dollars to mock and counter the warnings from both scientific groups, while corporate, commercial, and government scientists and engineers continue to design and construct the industrial methods and machines that produce the pollution and ravage the earth that results in climate change. And they continue to design and construct the police state technologies that are enslaving us. And in both cases, the general public remain lethargic and unresponsive to the warnings. The warnings go ignored and unheeded. The public have been conditioned and brainwashed to embrace the profiteering corporate and industrial elite's word over that of the scientist critics, who in both cases have no financial gains or profits to protect. There's no profits to be had or power to be gained in stopping climate change or shutting down the police state. It's quite ironic that the public embraces the science that's creating the problems, but ignore the scientists warning us about the problems. They embrace the lies of the profiteering corporate news media, but reject the investigations and findings of the nonprofit alternative news media. The alternative news media calculated that between 1991 and 2012, nearly 14,000 peer-reviewed articles were published about climate change, and only 24 rejected the idea. It exposed that for decades Shell Oil has known full well that fossil fuels and industrialization were causing climate change, and even produced a video about it back in 1991. At first the elite denied it was happening at all, but most recently amended their baseless argument to say it is happening, but they're not responsible, and they must be allowed to continue to pollute the planet, or civilized economics will collapse and chaos will ensue. The mainstream media is regurgitating this alarmist corporate position. They continue to downplay the legitimacy and urgency of the very probable coming climate change disaster. We're talking about drastic weather pattern changes and disruptions, extreme temperature fluctuations, a steady and destructive increase in the Earth's overall temperature, mass flooding, the displacement and deaths of tens, if not hundreds of millions of people and animals, a complete swamping of low-lying coastal regions and islands, and the complete reshaping of the world's continents. The corporate media and the public simply reject these scientists' warnings about climate change and the police state as exaggerated, alarmist, or as a conspiracy theory. At most, they see these problems as futuristic, not needing any immediate concern or action. They may also accept them as inevitable results of progress or even welcome them as socially productive, offering social employment, energy, convenience, security, and stability. On both subjects, through corporate, consumer funded, and elitist mainstream media and political campaigns, propaganda, fire hosing, astroturfing, and gaslighting, the elite are winning their disinformation war against reality and the truth. There's three legitimate reasons we should believe the scientists' warnings about climate change. One is that there's no profit motive behind the scientists. The so-called carbon tax was an idea originating with the oil companies and isn't a solution. It's just their way of passing their costs on to the taxpayer. And by making the absurd claim it's a leftist plot to raise taxes, they discredit the science even further. The second reason is that we need to stop the insanity of industrial, plastic, nuclear, and energy pollution anyway, and now we have the means to do it. With wind, water, and solar energy producing capabilities now available, there's no reason why we shouldn't be converting to these en masse right now. Regardless of the industrialist cries that it's too expensive, we can no longer use expense as an excuse to not do the right thing. Besides, if these alternative energy sources are expensive, it's only because the elite make them so. The conversion itself would create many jobs and pump much money into the economy. The third reason is doing nothing isn't an option as the elite claim. We must do what we can to reverse this impending disaster and do it quickly. If we discover climate change continues even after we make these changes, then at least we can tell future generations that we tried, we did our best, and made an effort. As for the police state, we're going to have to decide if technological security and convenience is worth the cost of our freedom. If we wish to exchange our freedom for the dependence, addiction, and slavery offered to the same technology that tracks us, records us, watches us, and oppresses us every hour of every day. We must decide if a forced surrendering of our personal privacy, mass commercialization, militarized police, a corporate and governmental surveillance state, a cashless economy, microchipping our bodies, and an artificial intelligence that will rule us as the elite command it is truly to our advantage. I say it's not. I want my freedom. A lot of these technologies can be manufactured without the police state aspects inserted into them. Personally, I don't see the point of stopping climate change if it's just going to result in humanity's slavery to the police state. Both issues are equally important and they're both equally urgent. Equalism sees climate change and the police state as just two sides of a single multi-sided problem, and that problem is Predanomics, a corrupt and profiteering global elite and their scientific lapdogs controlling all of humanity and making decisions that affect the entire planet they've no right to make. We must wake up others, and make a united stand against this industrial and technological insanity. So heed the scientists who possess no ulterior motives and who will achieve no financial gain as they warn us of the dangers we now face due to the very technologies they and their industry helped create. Suspect and reject the elitists and their scientists who profit from this industrial destruction of the environment and these police state technologies. It's time to join the Equalism movement and resist, refuse, revolt.